You know the story. A beautiful girl falls in love with a beast. Her love breaks his curse. He becomes a handsome prince. They live happily ever after. True love conquers all. Inner beauty matters more than appearance. A tale as old as time. This is what Disney taught you. This is what you believe. This is the sanitized version. This is not the truth. Because in the original story, Beauty does not choose the beast. She is sold to him by her father to save himself. She is property, transferred from one male owner to another, and her love is not triumph. It is survival. It is adaptation. It is what women had to do. To endure captivity, to survive marriage, to live. Are you ready to understand what Beauty and the Beast really means? Because this story is not about love. It is about ownership, about women as commodities, about learning to accept captivity, about calling imprisonment romance. The oldest written version comes from 1740. French author Gabrielle-Suzanne de Villeneuve published La Belle et la Bête. But the story is far older. Oral versions exist across Europe, each reflecting local marriage customs, each encoding the same truth. Women are property. Marriage is transaction. Love is irrelevant. Survival is everything. The story begins with a wealthy merchant. He has 6 daughters and 6 sons. The youngest daughter is the most beautiful, called Beauty. She is also kind, modest, obedient, everything a daughter should be. The merchant loses his fortune. His ships sink. His investments fail. The family falls into poverty. They move to a small cottage. The daughters must work, must cook and clean, must live like peasants. All except Beauty. She adapts gracefully, works cheerfully, never complains. Her sisters are bitter, angry, resentful. They blame their father, blame their circumstances, blame Beauty for being too perfect, too accepting, too good. Then the merchant receives news. One ship has returned. His fortune might be restored. He prepares to travel to the port to claim his goods. He asks his daughters what gifts they want. The older sisters demand jewels, dresses, expensive things. Beauty asks for a single rose, because none grow near their cottage. The merchant travels to the port, but the ship's cargo has been seized to pay debts. He gets nothing. He returns home, riding through a storm, lost, freezing, desperate. He finds a palace, enormous, magnificent, seemingly abandoned. He enters. A fire burns. Food is prepared. No one is there. He eats. He sleeps. In the morning, he explores the gardens. He sees roses. He remembers Beauty's request. He picks one. Instantly, a beast appears. Massive, terrifying, monstrous. The beast roars with rage. "How dare you steal from me, after I gave you shelter and food? You repay kindness with theft. For this, you will die." The merchant begs for mercy, explains he picked the rose for his daughter, who asked for nothing else, who is good and kind. The beast considers. "Very well," the beast says. "I will spare your life, on one condition. Send me one of your daughters to live here forever. If she comes willingly, you live. If not, you return to die." The merchant is horrified, but he agrees. He has no choice. He returns home, He tells his family. The older daughters are furious. Blame Beauty. If she had asked for jewels like them, this would not have happened. Beauty volunteers. She will go to the beast. She will save her father. She will sacrifice herself. This is presented as noble, as heroic, as loving. But let us be clear. This is not choice. This is coercion. This is a father selling his daughter to save himself. This is exactly what happened throughout history in every culture. Daughters as payment, as tribute, as sacrifice. The merchant takes Beauty to the palace. He leaves her there, abandons her, returns home, alone. She is now the beast's property. The beast appears. He is enormous, hideous, frightening. But he is polite, gentle, respectful. He gives her beautiful rooms, fine clothes, anything she wants, except freedom. Every evening he dines with her, talks with her, then asks the same question. Beauty, will you marry me? Every evening she refuses, politely, kindly, but firmly. No, I cannot marry you. You are too different, too monstrous, too other. The beast accepts her refusal, never forces her, never punishes her, but she remains captive. This continues for months. Beauty grows accustomed to the beast, to their routine, to her captivity. She begins to pity him. He is lonely, cursed, suffering. She is kind to him, talks with him, keeps him company, but she does not love him. She misses her family, her home, her freedom. One day she asks to visit her father. The beast agrees, but only for 1 week. If she does not return, he will die of grief. She promises to return. She leaves. She visits her family. They are happy to see her, but her sisters are jealous of her fine clothes, her jewels, her life in the palace. They convince her to stay longer, to break her promise, to let the beast suffer. Beauty agrees, stays an extra week. Then she dreams. The beast is dying, lying in the garden, calling her name. She wakes in terror, realizes she cares for him, perhaps loves him. She rushes back to the palace, finds the beast dying, just as in her dream. She weeps, holds him, declares she will marry him. Please do not die. I love you. The moment she says these words, the curse breaks. The beast transforms, becomes a handsome prince. He was cursed by a fairy for his pride and cruelty. Only true love could break the spell. Beauty's declaration freed him. They marry, live happily ever after. This is where the story ends, with romance, with transformation, with reward. But let us examine what actually happened. A young woman was sold by her father to a monster as payment for theft, a rose. She was imprisoned, isolated, cut off from family, given luxury but not freedom. Her captor asked her to marry him every single day. She refused every single day. But she could not leave, could not escape, could not say no permanently. She was his property. Then she left, briefly, and when she returned, she found him dying. In that moment of crisis, of guilt, of manipulation, she said she loved him, and that sealed her fate. She married him, remained with him, forever. This is not a love story. This is a story about Stockholm Syndrome, about captivity bonding, about learning to love your captor, about women adapting to survive. Stockholm Syndrome was named in 1973 after a bank robbery in Stockholm. Hostages bonded with their captors, defended them, refused rescue. Psychologists studied this phenomenon. They found it is a survival mechanism. When you are powerless, completely controlled by someone who can kill you, but shows you occasional kindness, you bond with them. You sympathize with them. You identify with them. You convince yourself you love them. Because the alternative is unbearable, is constant terror, is seeing yourself as victim, is admitting you have no power. So you reframe. You find reasons. You create love where none exists. This is what beauty does. She is imprisoned, isolated, controlled. But the beast is kind. Within the confines of captivity, he gives her things, speaks politely, does not physically harm her. So she adapts. She begins to see him differently, not as captor, as companion, as someone deserving pity, eventually as someone she loves. This is not her fault. This is survival. This is what captive people do, what women in arranged marriages did, what anyone with no power does. They adapt. They survive. They call it love, because calling it captivity would destroy them. The story's historical context makes this clear. Gabrielle-Suzanne de Villeneuve wrote this in 1740, in France, where arranged marriage was standard, where daughters were property, where women were traded between fathers and husbands. A woman had no say in her marriage. Her father chose her husband based on politics, on money, on alliance, never on her wishes, never on her desires, never on her consent. She met her husband at the wedding, or just before. She had no choice but to accept him, no matter his age, his appearance, his character. If she refused, she dishonored her family, was disowned, left destitute, or forced to marry anyway. So she accepted, went to his home, became his property, legally, completely. And she learned to make the best of it. She found reasons to appreciate him, to respect him, to love him, because the alternative was madness, was despair, was seeing her life as prison. The beast is every arranged husband, chosen by the father, accepted by the daughter, not from love, but from duty, from necessity, from lack of choice. The beast's ugliness is the husband's undesirability, his age, his appearance, his foreignness, his difference. The wife must learn to see past it, must learn to find value, must learn to love, or at least pretend. The palace is the marital home, beautiful, luxurious, comfortable, but still a prison, still isolation, still separation from family. The nightly marriage proposals are sexual expectation. The husband's right, the wife's duty. She can refuse, temporarily, but not forever. Eventually she must accept, must submit, must become wife. The visit home is the brief contact allowed, with birth family, with previous life, always temporary, always controlled, always requiring return. The sister's jealousy is other women's resentment of a good marriage, of a kind husband, of material comfort. Even in captivity, some prisons are nicer than others. The beast's threatened death is manipulation, emotional blackmail. If you leave me, I will die. If you do not love me, I will suffer. Your duty is to save me with your presence, with your love, with your body. This is not romance. This is coercion. The declaration of love is capitulation, acceptance of fate, choosing to survive by embracing captivity. by calling it love. The transformation into a prince is the rationalization. See, he was really good all along. You were right to love him. Your suffering had purpose. Your captivity was blessing. The happy ending is the lie women told themselves to survive marriage, to endure captivity, to make bearable the unbearable. I chose this. I love him. I am happy. Because the alternative, admitting you are property, admitting you are prisoner, admitting your life is not your own, was unthinkable. Modern readers miss this context. We see the story through Disney's lens. Belle chooses to take her father's place. She is brave, strong, independent. She reads, she dreams, she wants adventure. She sees the beast's goodness. She falls in love naturally. She breaks the curse through authentic feeling. This is empowering. This is agency. This is choice. But it is not the original story. In Villeneuve's version, Beauty has no agency. She is sent by her father. She cannot refuse. She is captive. She adapts to survive. Her love is Stockholm Syndrome. Her marriage is captivity accepted. Disney changed this because we changed. We could no longer accept. A story about fathers selling daughters, about captivity as romance, about Stockholm Syndrome as love. So we rewrote it, gave Belle choice, gave her personality, gave her agency, made the beast worthy, made the love mutual, made the story acceptable. This is not wrong. This is progress. This is good. But we must not forget what the story was, what it meant, what it revealed about women's lives, about marriage, about captivity, about survival. The father selling beauty is documented history. Fathers arranged marriages, for money, for alliance, for their own benefit. Daughters were commodities, transferred, traded, sold. The beast as husband is the reality. Women married men they did not know, did not choose, often did not want. They had to make it work, had to find reasons, had to create love. The captivity as palace is the marriage as gilded cage. Material comfort, social status, security, but no freedom, no choice, no escape. The nightly proposals are marital expectation, sexual rights, reproductive duty. The wife could delay, but not deny, not permanently. The transformation is the rationalization. He is really good. I was lucky. My marriage is blessed. Because admitting otherwise, admitting captivity, admitting coercion, was too painful. We still tell this story, still read it to children, but we sanitize it. We focus on inner beauty, on looking past appearances, on love conquering all. We miss that this is about captivity, about women as property, about Stockholm Syndrome, about survival, about adaptation, about learning to love your prison. We must recognize this, must acknowledge this, must understand this. Not to condemn the story, but to understand history, to see what women endured, to recognize adaptation, to honor survival. Beauty is every woman. In an arranged marriage, in a forced union, in a situation with no escape, she did what she had to do. She survived. She adapted. She found reasons. She created love. This is not weakness. This is strength. This is survival. But we must call it what it is. Not romance. Survival. Not love. Adaptation. Not choice. Coercion. The next time you see Beauty and the Beast, remember her father sold her. Remember, she was captive. Remember, she had no choice. Remember, her love was survival. Remember, the transformation was rationalization. Remember, this is history. Remember, this is what women endured. And remember, we changed it. We gave Belle choice. We made the beast worthy. We created mutual love. We rewrote captivity as romance. Both versions exist. Both teach lessons. The original teaches about survival, about women's powerlessness, about adaptation, about the cost of being female. The Disney version teaches about choice, about inner beauty, about mutual respect, about love as partnership. We need both. The honesty of the original, the hope of the revision, the history and the progress. But we must never forget which came first, what it really meant. Beauty still walks through that palace, still captive, still adapting, still learning to love, still surviving. In the pages of the original, in the history of women, in the marriages that were prisons, in the captivity called romance, she is still there, still making the best of it, still calling it love. Because what else could she call it? That is the truth. That is the story. That is Beauty and the Beast.